YouTube back with another video. I saw this on IG of Busta Rhymes speaking about American culture. I thought this would be a perfect continuation of the conversation I had months back when I talked about what is American culture. So I'm gonna let him talk about uh, the Caribbean culture and how it has influenced American culture, and then I'm gonna chime in.
In the United States, where the multicultural, because the U.S. ain't got no culture. They shit is all our shit. A bunch of our shit is what makes the U.S. whatever you want to call it. We still don't know what that culture is for the U.S., but it's a mix-up of all of our cultures. And in the urban community, the Latino and the West Indian has the greatest influence, and we've always had, and we'll always will, and it's just been that way. So I've actually been influenced by the Latino community, which allows me to feel that much more comfortable putting my West Indian influence in my music, because they made me feel that much more proud to be like, yeah, my Lisa, yo, me, I got it, and I say it. But I'm just saying, a lot of the times, it ain't until you're made to feel comfortable giving it to the people who are what you really are, what your influences are, what you're bringing in the house, that you do it. So, being that I've been made to feel comfortable doing it, I think I also got to acknowledge and credit the Latinos for their influence on me. We're going to have a national Coons conference at FDMG. Yes, brothers and sisters, we have to have a national Coons conference.
All right. So you see the pro blacks, they got offended by what Busta Rhymes said, and I think there's a little, it seems like a little bit of beef always between the so-called American black people, or what they call foundational black Americans. That's a new term. People are trying to distinguish themselves from immigrants from West Africa, immigrants from the Caribbean. They try to claim that they're the original so-called black people in America, even though they don't claim the Aboriginal Americans who were so-called black people, by the way. But there's a new term out there being called the foundational blacks. And I just want to put my 2 cents in here because, Buster Rhymes, he is Jamaican. It's interesting that he says he singles out the West Indie influence in the urban culture when he came up on the so-called American black culture of hip hop. I don't think many people even knew that Busta Rhymes was Jamaican until really recently when he started making recent albums. But back in the 90s, no one really knew that about Busta Rhymes. Even in the early 2000s, I don't think people really even knew his origins like that. Because he just repped New York all the time. He didn't really rep Jamaica. But I think it's interesting when brothers from the Caribbean like to claim their culture, because I think they do it for different reasons. Also, brothers from West Africa do this. They like to claim their culture when it suits them, and they also like to claim the black card when it suits them. I think a lot of them like to play the quote unquote American black card for clout to kind of fit in, because you can put that face on. It's like when you're in America, you can put like, hey, I'm black, pro black, whatever. But then you can also mix in with, hey, I'm from, the Dominican, or I'm from Jamaica, or I'm from, from Haiti, like, I'm from Nigeria. It's like they're able to code switch, when do fit. And I understand you do it because of, their own traditions and their customs. But uh I think some of them like to claim their culture to kind of feel superior to the so-called black men and women of America, but not understanding that we're all come from the same people. We all come from the same stock of people, being the people of the book. So I think we should recognize that, because, um, our culture, regardless where we're in, America or the Caribbean or West Africa, these cultures aren't really what you think they are, you know, especially in the Western Hemisphere, because all those countries in the Caribbean, they all eat swine, they all eat pork, and the swine is not indigenous to the Western Hemisphere. The swine wasn't even here until the European came here and brought it here. And also, the Caribbean, in the Caribbean, they celebrate something called Juve, aka the Bacchanal. And the Bacchanal comes from Bacchanalia. Bacchanalia and that was the worship of the Roman god, quote unquote god Bacchus. And Bacchus was a transgender, by the way. So when they talk about culture, they don't really understand what culture they're talking about, with some of the food they eat and some of the traditions they keep. So I'm not hating on the Caribbean brothers and sisters. I mean, I know good people from the Caribbean that I love and care for. But when you talk about culture, that's more than just music or food or holidays. Culture means you understand why you're doing something and where do these customs come from. When you can answer those questions, then you understand what your culture is. You know. And another thing, like Haiti and Jamaica, they're two of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere. I believe Haiti's number one and Jamaica's number two, but they have uh, some of the most natural resources in the whole Western Hemisphere. So how are you the poorest country but have the most or some of the most greatest natural resources in the Western Hemisphere? That tells me that your people are pimping you out, you know. But the same people who are getting pimped out by their own people, they love to claim their island. And I understand, you rep your people, you support your people, but we have to understand we have to keep things in context because, like I said, the culture that we try to, hold on to, it's not what you think it is. And almost as we see with how COVID is, we all understand that we're all really under the same global culture because the powers that be are actually about to remove the illusion or the like almost like it's not real of the concept of nationality because we're all in Babylon. Whether you're in North America, South America, the Caribbean, Europe, Africa, Australia, Asia, Middle East, quote unquote, we all just work in different departments, but we're all under the same corporation, which is the global government, aka Mystery Babylon. So that's why I say culture is not just about this pop culture and hip hop and food and stuff like that. It's a lot more, and we have to get to the root of things about where our culture comes from. And on this channel, I always say our culture is rooted in the scriptures. That subsedes all things. And when I say the scriptures, I mean the whole Bible. So, so that's all I got, man. All right, peace.